You wake up, check your phone, and somewhere between the notifications and the news, money quietly makes a decision about your life. Not you. Money, your rent, your salary, your future, all nudged by forces you've never voted for and probably never fully seen. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear out loud. Money is not what you think it is, and it definitely doesn't work the way you were taught. We're told money is simple. Work hard, earn more, save, invest, repeat. But if that were true, this wouldn't feel so exhausting. Entire generations wouldn't feel stuck despite doing everything right, and the rules wouldn't keep changing right after you finally learn them. This matters right now because something has shifted, quietly, structurally, permanently. In the last 50 years, money stopped being a neutral tool and became a system that feeds on time, behavior, and belief. And most people are interacting with it backwards. Let me show you how it actually works. Start with this idea. Money is not value. It's a claim on future effort. When you hold $1, you're not holding wealth. You're holding a promise that someone, somewhere, will give you goods or labor later. That promise only works if everyone agrees it works, which means money is less about math and more about trust. Now here's where it gets strange. For most of history, money was slow. Gold, silver, physical limits. Then in 1971, something snapped. The world quietly moved from money backed by something tangible to money backed by confidence and policy. From that moment on, money could be created faster than value. And once money becomes easier to create than real things, the game changes. Because now the question isn't how much money exists, it's who gets access to it first. This is where the system reveals itself. New money doesn't enter the economy evenly. It never has. It enters through banks, financial markets, governments, and large institutions first. By the time it reaches wages, prices have already adjusted. This is why assets inflate before paychecks do. Why houses rise faster than salaries. Why stocks soar while savings accounts politely decay. It's not an accident. It's timing. If you're close to the source of money creation, inflation works for you. If you're far from it, inflation works on you. Think about it this way. When central banks inject money into the system, who gets it first? Banks use it to buy assets. Corporations refinance debt at better rates. Investors deploy capital into markets. All of this happens before a single dollar reaches your paycheck. By the time you get your raise, the price of everything has already moved. The house you were saving for? Already 15% more expensive. The stocks you were considering? Already rallied. The investment opportunity? Already passed. This isn't a conspiracy. It's just structure. And structure doesn't need intention to create inequality. It just needs time. Now layer in debt. Debt is often sold as a tool, but structurally it's a lever. When money is cheap to create, lending explodes. And when lending explodes, future labor gets pre-sold. A mortgage isn't just a house. It's 30 years of future work priced at today's optimism. Credit cards aren't convenience. They're time machines that pull spending forward and push stress backward. Student loans aren't just education. They're a bet that your future earnings will justify present costs. A bet made before you even know what the game really is. And here's the irony. The system needs you to stay solvent, but never truly free. Productive, but dependent. Hopeful, but not secure. Because fully secure people don't borrow as much. They don't panic spend. They don't chase yield or status the same way. So the system rewards motion, not stability. It celebrates risk-taking while punishing those who can't afford to lose. It praises entrepreneurship while structuring safety nets that disappear the moment you try. Now let's talk about the math nobody likes to show. If inflation averages 6% and your savings earn 1%, you are losing purchasing power every year. Quietly, reliably. If your income rises 5% but housing rises 10%, you didn't get richer. You got busier. This is why people feel like they're running faster but staying in place. Because they are. The treadmill speed keeps increasing. And the only way to keep up is to take on more. More debt, more risk, more hours, more leverage. The hype says, just invest and you'll be fine. The reality says, only if you can access assets early enough and hold them long enough. Timing beats effort far more often than we admit. And here's what makes it worse. The people who understand this system early enough to benefit from it often inherited the knowledge, or the capital, or the access, while everyone else is told to work harder and be patient. Zoom out even further. Money today isn't just an economic system. It's a psychological one. It shapes what you consider safe, what risks you tolerate, what dreams feel realistic. It nudges you toward monthly payments instead of long-term ownership, subscriptions instead of assets, liquidity instead of resilience. Why own when you can rent? Why commit when you can keep your options open? Why build when you can borrow? These aren't just personal choices. They're responses to incentives built into the system itself. When ownership becomes unaffordable, renting becomes normalized. When stability requires too much capital, flexibility becomes a virtue. When long-term planning feels impossible, short-term thinking becomes rational. And the biggest risk isn't losing money. It's mistaking numbers on a screen for control. Because you can have a six-figure salary and still feel broke. You can have $1 million in assets and still feel trapped. You can follow every rule and still end up behind. Because money doesn't care about fairness. It responds to incentives, structure, and scale. And the structure right now rewards those who already have scale. Which brings us to the quiet question underneath all of this. If money is a system built on trust, timing, and belief, what happens when belief starts to crack? When more people realize they're playing a game designed decades before they were born? When the promise of work hard and you'll make it collides with the reality of work hard and you might stay afloat? Money doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes, it shifts, it reorders who benefits. And that process has already started. Look around. More people questioning the value of college. More people rejecting traditional career paths. More people seeking alternative systems. Not because they're lazy or entitled, but because they're rational. They see the math. They feel the squeeze. They recognize the pattern. The shocking truth about how money works isn't that it's evil or rigged. It's that it's indifferent. And indifference is far more dangerous, because indifference doesn't explain itself. It doesn't justify its outcomes. It just continues. So here's the thought I'll leave you with. If money is a promise about the future, whose future are you actually holding? And how long will that promise still mean what you think it does? The system doesn't change because people complain about it. It changes when people understand it. When they stop playing by rules that were never designed for them to win. When they stop confusing motion with progress. When they stop mistaking survival for success. Understanding how money actually works isn't about getting rich. It's about seeing clearly. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The question is what you do with that clarity. Subscribe to the channel.